There is a lot of talk right now when it comes to a shortage or lack of inventory regarding the housing market, not only here in Arizona, but across the country. And it's something we've all been dealing with over the past 2 to 3 years. But is it reality or just smoke and mirrors? I received an email this week from Nick over at Reventure Consulting that hit on that topic, and I thought it'd be an interesting discussion to have with you guys. I know there are many people that follow Nick's content for a lot of different reasons, and I like to keep an eye on it as well because I like to hear different points of view. So I'm going to bring up some of the data we are currently seeing here in Phoenix when it comes to our low housing inventory, and then we're going to go through that email from Nick to get his thoughts on it as well. There are several points he brings up that are interesting and probably worth sharing. So if you think that might be helpful to you, then stay tuned. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and jump right into this. I'm going to bring up that email that I talked to you about that I got from Nick from Reventure Consulting. And what he talks about is the myth of the U.S. housing shortage. And this caught my attention, and I went through it. I thought there were some interesting points. I think those of you who follow YouTube, you're probably familiar with a lot of Nick's content. Here's his Reventure Consulting channel. He talks a lot about the housing market here in Arizona and across the country, and a lot of people follow him. He's a big believer that we're in a housing bubble, and he's talked about a crash for many, many months now from what we've been going through. So I don't always believe what Nick has to say. I don't think his data is 100% telling what's going on, but I don't think that he's 100% off either. I think there's always some a little bit that you should listen to both sides and see what's going on. So I follow his content to kind of pick out some details too that I think are helpful to share. And I thought this particular article that he recently wrote was interesting to kind of share. But before we get into that article, I want to share what's going on just from a data side when it comes to our housing inventory here in Phoenix. I'm going to pull up the Cromford Market Index. This measures supply and demand, and the market index is based on that. So if you look at our supply index, we're at a 54.3, which is extremely low. And when you look at the green, anything that is in a green is considered a seller's market. So you got a balance between 90 and 110. Anything that goes, if you have a supply index in the red here, that turns into a buyer's market. If you go into the demand index, the demand on this side, the red means more of a buyer's market if it's under 90. But because we're in such a low supply, having this demand at 84.4 averages out, puts us into a mostly seller's market with 155.6. 100 or 100 to 110 here is typically a balanced market. So we're seeing that on that end when it comes to the Cromford report. A lot of people go off of that. I'm going to also show you the Altos figures as well. If you go to our website, livinginphoenixaz.com, you can look at real-time market profiles of not only Maricopa County, which is the Phoenix metro area, but you can go in by city and take a look. And what we're really wanting to focus on is the inventory. This goes back about 16 weeks, and you can kind of see if you go through each of the cities here, you can see that we've seen a decrease in the new listings that are coming to market, and we're seeing not only a decrease in the listings coming to market, but we're also seeing an uptick in what's going under contract. So that's creating even more of a pinch when it comes to having the ability for buyers to have more options and that type of thing. So we're really seeing some issues when it comes to the inventory right now. So the next question is, why is the supply declining so much? And there's a lot of potential things that kind of go into this, and we talk about this all the time, and there's a lot of opinions out there, and there's a lot of things that we're just seeing. I'm going to bring up this slide from a recent presentation that the Cromford report did, because we talk about this stuff all the time. And what we're seeing is this: we're seeing insufficient new listings to offset accepted contracts and canceled expired listings. So basically we're seeing properties hit the market but get under contract quickly, and then we're also seeing listings that are canceled, listings that are expired, that they're not coming back to market. So we're seeing more homes go under contract than we're seeing new listings. And there are a lot of reasons for that. Most people believe, and I think there's a lot of that goes with this, but the interest rates are the biggest part of that. A lot of people are not willing to try to sell their home right now because they don't want to get rid of their current interest rate. That's a huge factor for people not wanting to move. Number two, people just can't afford to move. Like, you might be stuck where you're at if you, number one, don't want to pay an interest rate that's higher, or number two, just can't find a home that makes sense, that's affordable even after you sell yours. The other thing that I'm seeing quite a bit is there's a lot of people that they want to sell their house, but they can't find anything better to move into than where they're currently at. So they're like, okay, well, I'm not going to reduce my price, and I'm not going to go pay at higher interest rates somewhere else if the house that I'm looking for isn't even better than my current situation. So that's a huge challenge right now if you're a seller. As we talk through this, you guys, let us know down in the comments below what your thoughts are, or if you're going through a similar situation. We have a lot of people that might have similar stories. It always helps to have you share what's going on your end, because I know a lot of people are going through some of the same struggles right now. We appreciate it. So let's bring up Nick's article right now and kind of see if there's any merit to his belief that the housing shortage is more of a myth. And we'll kind of bring this up here. He's got the number of housing units owned versus the number of vacant owned properties. And when he talks about vacant owned properties, that's a lot of potential like short-term rentals, rental properties, people that have second homes. There's a lot that is in that category there. And then the stuff for sale currently right now. So he talks about a dead zone between buyers and sellers, which we've got this situation where it's not fun to be a seller or a buyer right now in a lot of ways. And I agree with that 100%. And the driver is the shortage of inventory, with Realtor.com showing only 564,000 active listings on the market in April, which is 50% below what we were pre-pandemic. So that's a significant number to think about when we're talking about the housing shortage. So what we're seeing, not only here in Arizona, but across the country from everybody I'm talking to, is because we have that shortage, it's pushing the prices back up. We had a situation last year where the interest rates went up. That caused everything to kind of stop. We saw a little bit of an increase in inventory that started pushing prices back down a little bit. So year over year, we started seeing a decrease in prices. But when we hit the bottom in like October, November, we've started to start creeping back up from there. So kind of interesting to see what's going on from a pricing perspective. But then we're kind of getting into like, what is really going on in the inventory situation, because he talks about America having more than enough homes for its population for affordable pricing and rents, and talks about shadow inventory and what actions that the government caused, that type of thing. Again, I don't necessarily disagree with, a lot of the points he brings up. But I also, when we're talking about especially these vacant owned, there's a lot of people that invested a lot of money into real estate. And those were second home buyers, people who wanted to put their money. They didn't want to put money into the stock market. They didn't feel that that was a good investment. They felt like real estate, hedging on inflation, was a better investment. And there's a ton of people that would rather put their money into real estate all the time than in anything else. And when you have that many people that say, hey, look, real estate's a better option for me on an investment than anything else, that's when you see all the short-term rentals getting bought up. That's when you're going to see a lot of second home buy. So yes, all those are vacant properties where people who have a good amount of money are not interested in selling their homes right now. They just want to hold on to them because they think it's a good investment. But this is where it's like, hey, does it cause a unstable system? Yeah, I would say that is a possibility. We'll kind of cruise down through here as far as, and I can share this information if you guys want to reach out and get some of this. I can share this with you if you want to reach out and go through it. We can talk through that. But it's like, where does this potentially fall apart? Where Nick talks about it is looking at a sizable increase in the unemployment rate that will trigger a collapse. So that is what he's thinking right now. Right now, we have a record low unemployment rate, and they're historically low. And, he talks about wealthy people who bought the second and third homes, like having those homes, especially at the 3% interest rates, and investors who bought rentals like having those rentals. Even if they're struggling to rent them out or break even, a homeowner who's struggling to make their mortgage payment might decide not to sell because they expect to get a raise in a year. So, and again, like I agree with everything he's saying here. So, but if the unemployment rate hits 7%, he thinks that there could be some mass selling ensue. So to me, it's a situation where I think he believes that if there are people in a situation of dire need, they no longer have their jobs. Maybe they have equity because they've been in their homes for a while, but they no longer have the ability to pay for them, then they might start selling off. That is a possibility. I would say that there is always room for that potential depending on what happens in the economy overall. Doesn't seem likely for the near foreseeable future, but you just never know with what's going on. So, and he even brings that up. It's like, what if the unemployment rate doesn't go up? Here's where he talks about recession fatigue, and this time is different. With all the people who have been talking about a crash for the last couple of years and it just hasn't happened, and then you start getting fatigued over hearing about it and it not happening, because I guarantee there's a lot of people out there that are probably frustrated with constantly hearing the same information and never happening. But his belief is that it's only a matter of time. And again, who knows? Nick makes a lot of money off of putting this information out to people who believe that there is going to be a crash at some point, and who knows? I mean, again, there's always something that could cause that to happen, whether it's in the next couple months, if it's in the next year, is it the next 2 years, 3 years, 5 years? Nobody has that crystal ball. We all wish we had it, trust me. But his mindset is it's going to happen at some point. That's going to trigger a lot of people putting their homes on the market. And then once that trigger of more homes getting on the market, that's what's going to drop these prices down. So again, anybody can have that crystal ball of like, it's going to happen at some point. For what that is, it's really hard to determine based on what we know right now that that's going to happen anytime in the near future. So one last point, and we're bringing this back to Arizona specifically, is talking about, and at the end of the article here, Nick talks about shadow inventory. And when he's talking about shadow inventory, he's talking about these vacant homes that are being used as second homes. They're being used as short-term rentals, long-term rentals, that type of thing, that might be in a situation where if anything turns on the economic side, then some people might start putting their houses up for sale, that type of thing. So Arizona is number 8 on the list with 9.7%. We get a lot of stuff here in Phoenix, like Scottsdale, Phoenix area is huge for short-term rentals. And second home market, Scottsdale specifically. It's also a huge market up in northern Arizona, places like Flagstaff, that type of thing. Flagstaff has been, one of the biggest places for second home buying for a lot of investors as well. So I think that Arizona number includes northern Arizona. So those are things that you want to think about when it comes to understanding, what the risks are if you decide to make a decision to purchase here in Arizona. But at the same time, there's a lot of reason why people are making the investment here in Arizona for that reason. So again, a lot to digest, a lot to think about when you're making a decision, but wanted to share this with you guys. So if you guys have any thoughts or feedback on what we just discussed, definitely let us know down in the comments below, or even better, give us a call. We are here to help guide you when it comes to everything you need to know about moving here to the Phoenix area. We're here to help guide you on that. We're here to help guide you on the housing market, and obviously where the best places and neighborhoods are to be. Give us a call, send us a text, shoot us an email. However you want to get a hold of us, we got your back. And until the next video, we will catch you later.